This series is insanely underrated, and that's a problem. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Faith and thank you so much for watching. Today we're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite romance series of all time, a series that is also insanely underrated, the Wildflower series by Amelie Reese. And just to get this out of the way real quick, there are currently 4 books out. I only have the first 3, but trust, book 4 is coming home to me very soon. I love this series so much and I never see anybody talking about it, and that is a problem. So today I will be convincing you to read this incredible series. This is a contemporary romance series, and if you aren't a contemporary romance girly, stick around. I think I could turn you into one. One real quick thing before I convince you to read the series, it is so insanely windy today. I don't know if the microphone will pick that up, but if it does, I apologize. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the Wildflower series by Amelie Reese. I'm about to say something that may turn some of you away, but you need to hear me out. I discovered this series while she was still publishing it on Wattpad. Now I know some of y'all hear Wattpad and you're like, oh, it's gonna be terrible. Absolutely not. This series is filled with some of the best written romance books I have ever read in my life, and I have read a lot of romance books. And you know what? Not even just romance books. These are some of the best written books in general I have ever read. I found this series when she had just published chapter 6 or 7, and at that time she was doing, I think, 1 chapter every single week on Wattpad. And I read it and I was immediately hooked. Like every single week, the second I got the notification that she published a new chapter, I would drop everything and read it. Awake at Dawn is actually the second book in the series. However, I had zero troubles understanding anything that was happening. And I say that to say, if you watch this video and only 1 book interests you, you can read those books as a standalone. That being said, this series is literally so good and I highly recommend reading every single book and reading them in order just because that's how they were published. But again, if you're only interested in one, you could read that one and not be confused, except for the last book, which I will get into when we talk about the last book. But honestly, trust me, you're gonna read one and it won't be enough, and then you're gonna end up reading them all anyway, so you might as well start from the beginning. That is how I discovered the series, and I was hooked immediately. Now I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of each book, and I'm not gonna spoil anything that isn't revealed in the synopsis or as one of the tropes. The first book in the series is Alive at Night, and it follows Julian and Juniper. Julian and Juniper, former childhood enemies, are hired at the same law firm and they are forced to share an office. And their enemy relationship from childhood extended into adulthood because they still do not like each other. But unfortunately for them, they both need each other's help. Julian needs help on a case and Juniper needs a fake boyfriend. As for the tropes, listen carefully because there are quite a few. Julian is Juniper's best friend's brother, so this is a best friend's brother romance. It's also enemies to lovers. However, I feel like it's really hard to get a true enemies to lovers in a contemporary romance, so I personally would classify this as more mutual dislike to lovers. It is a workplace / forced proximity romance, and like I said, Juniper's in need of a fake boyfriend. Who do you think that's gonna be? Julian, guys. So of course, this book is a fake dating romance as well. And then we have the second book in the series, Awake at Dawn, following Noah and Gemma. With an unplanned baby on the way, Gemma is essentially forced to quit her job and she has to take a new job that comes with a pretty massive pay cut, meaning she has to move out of her apartment to something more affordable for her and her future baby. In steps Noah London, her brother's best friend, who offers her to move in with him. Again, this book comes with quite a few tropes. Of course, there's accidental pregnancy, but kind of with a twist because Noah is not the biological father, and that is all I'm gonna say about that. This is, of course, a brother's best friend romance. And Gemma's brother is actually Julian from Alive at Night, and Gemma is also Juniper's best friend. And did I mention Noah London is a professional football player and Gemma is a figure skater, making this a sports romance. Which, as you know if you've watched my videos, I am a sucker for sports romances. And this is also forced proximity because, spoiler alert, but not really because it's in the synopsis, Gemma does move in with Noah. And then we have the third book in the series, Attached at Heart, following Blake and Delaney. Delaney's fiance has revealed to her that he loves someone else. So unfortunately, they have to break up and call off the wedding. But fortunately, their relationship was fake. Delaney is trying to get her inheritance, and in order to get her inheritance, she needs to get married. Delaney is stressing out about what to do when in steps Blake London, Noah London's brother, who comes to the rescue. Months ago, Blake unexpectedly moved across the country and pretty much cut off contact with Delaney, but now he has agreed to step in as her fake husband. This book is childhood best friends to lovers, and in my opinion, such an underrated trope. And of course, there's that marriage of convenience, and with that marriage of convenience comes a fake honeymoon, which is a very big and very important portion of this book. They are also both cardiologists, so if you like doctors or are into doctor romances, here you go. And then we have the current last book in the series, Already at Risk, which follows Cameron and Natalie. And Natalie is Blake and London's sister, and Cameron works with Julian and Juniper. Natalie is a single mom going through a pretty brutal custody battle. Lucky for Natalie, her brother's best friend works at a law firm, so he obviously has lawyer connections. When Natalie is going to meet this new lawyer, she immediately recognizes him as the man that she met 6 months ago and almost had a one-night stand with. And he, Cameron, also immediately recognizes her because he hasn't been able to get her out of his head. So if you couldn't tell based on that description, this is a single mom and custody lawyer romance. And their lawyer arrangement isn't the only arrangement they have, because he has also agreed to give her spicy lessons, if you know what I mean. And it also has one of my favorite tropes: he falls first and hard. I received the arc for this book, and it was literally the first ever arc that I received, and I will never shut up about that. Like I said, Already at Risk is the current last book out in the series. However, the series is not done. And Amelie actually just gave us our first look into the next book. We haven't been given a title yet, but we have been told that it follows Ellie Summers, who is Natalie's best friend from Already at Risk, and Sully London, who is Noah and Blake's brother. And it is a childhood friends to lovers to strangers to lovers romance, aka a second chance romance. In case you couldn't tell by the covers of the books or the name of the series, the Wildflower series, each book does have its own flower. Alive at Night is a daisy, Awake at Dawn is a lily, Attached at Heart is a tulip, Already at Risk is a sunflower, and I'm thinking the next book is going to be a rose, but we'll have to wait and see. So that was a quick rundown of each book. Hopefully at least one of them piqued your interest. They are interconnected standalones, so they can each be read as a standalone. Like I said earlier, I read Awake at Dawn without reading Alive at Night first, and I didn't have a problem understanding anything. That being said, the author does recommend to read at least one of the previous books before you read Already at Risk. And after reading Already at Risk, I would have to agree with that, just because there's a lot of involvement from other characters in that book. So if you aren't familiar with the other characters, you might be a little bit confused. I highly recommend every single book in the series, and I personally would read them in order just because I feel like it's easier that way. But if you don't want to read them all, but you want to take that advice of reading at least one of the previous books before reading Already at Risk, personally, I would read Awake at Dawn. I just feel like of the 6 main characters from the previous 3 books, Noah is the one that is most present in Already at Risk, so it makes sense that if you're only going to read one book before Already at Risk, it would be his book. But again, personally, I would read every single one. The thing I look for most when I'm reading a romance book is for yearning and tension. So when I tell you that this series has some of the best yearning and tension I've ever read, trust me, I mean that. These men are so down bad for these women, and I just eat it up. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 7-book series, and when I tell you she could make this a 7,000 book series and I would read every single one, I mean it. The writing in all of these books is beautiful. I'm pretty sure I said this at the beginning, but I'm gonna say it again. These are some of the best written books I have ever read. The plot of every single book is so engaging, I didn't want to put any of them down. And the characters, which are easily my favorite part of the book, are so well written. They feel like real people. It never feels like their actions are only made to move the plot along. It feels like these are actual actions that people would take if they were in these scenarios. They're also so multi-layered, which is something that will immediately hook me into a book. I seriously just love these books so much, and they are insanely underhyped. And I just gotta say, Awake at Dawn is definitely my favorite. Noah London is one of my top book boyfriends of all time. And that being said, all the men in these books are up there on that list. Also, because I don't think I mentioned it, all the books in the series are spicy. I feel like there are some books with spice that you could recommend to non-spice readers because they could skip over the scenes. With these books, I will say, if you don't like spice, I probably wouldn't read them. But that is the only time you will ever hear me say you shouldn't read these books, because if you like spice, you have to read these books. Every single book in the series is a 5 stars for me. I have not one negative thing to say about any one of these books. Before we wrap things up here, I want to say one last thing. A couple weeks ago, I was just chilling, as one does, when I decided to open Instagram and I saw this. I might have stopped breathing. I might have blacked out. I can't fully tell you what happened the exact moment that I saw that notification. Amelie Reese is literally one of my favorite authors. I love her so much. So that was insane. Also, after I saw that, of course, I had to tell Bestie Ellie, and this is the video that I sent her.
Bro. I'm speechless. My favorite author just followed me on Instagram. Hello. Oh my God.
There are just not enough words to express my absolute love and adoration for this series and for the author. If you trust me at all, you will read these books. I truly can't think of anything else to say other than you need to read these books, and you know what? You don't even need to thank me when you give it 5 stars. Amelie Reese, I love you. Please never stop writing. Julian and Juniper, I love you. Noah and Gemma, I love you. Blake and Delaney, I love you. Cameron and Natalie, I love you. And Sully and Ellie, I already love you even though I haven't read your book yet. Please read these books, guys. You will not regret it. Normally for the last Sunday of every month, I add a new episode to my series where I compare books to their film or TV show adaptation. Last month, I apologize again. I did not end up doing that, but there will be an episode this month and it will be for The Housemaid, but I might end up doing it next week instead of the week after just because I don't know my Christmas plans yet. That being said, if it's not out next week, it will definitely be out the week after. So if that is something that you'd be interested in, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. So far, I have done A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Jurassic Park, Alice in Wonderland, Little Women, and It. So if any of those interest you, you should go check those out. But I think that is all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to read the Wildflower series by Amelie Reese. And be sure to like and subscribe and follow my Instagram and my TikTok. Both are linked in the description below for more bookish content. I'm wishing you all a happy holiday season. Love you guys. Bye.